So the hotel, we had a larger budget going in because we knew we wanted to make it special. So that was just nice to be able to hire a designer. Typically, we're doing a lot of our own design work, especially interior design work. And so we had a designer pick all this, and they literally buy everything and pick it up and ship it. And it's I was half my job most of the time. It was great.
Welcome to the Hidden City Podcast. I'm Grant.
And I'm Doug, and we're here to share some of the incredible stories and people from Oak Cliff that you might not know.
We're going to sit down with some of the visionaries, craftsmen, and business owners who have shaped Oak Cliff into what it is today.
Oak Cliff is on the south bank of the Trinity River, a few miles south of downtown Dallas. While technically it was part of Dallas, it was its own city for a long time, and it still has that independent spirit.
We'll dive into the history and the spirit of this place, exploring the different challenges and successes that defined it.
This is The Hidden City, a podcast about the people and the stories that make Oak Cliff extraordinary. Welcome to this episode of the Hidden City Podcast. Today we have our friend AJ Ramler, who is the founder of Proxy Properties and neighbor here in Oak Cliff. And man, we're excited to have you on the show.
I'm stoked to be here.
Thanks for coming over, dude.
Yeah, this is great.
Well, we'd love to get started. How'd you land in Oak Cliff, and maybe even tell us about your own home and the Struck House?
Yeah, cool. So my wife and me were in Denton going to UNT, and it's I think Denton 2011. Okay. So it's fixed gear bikes, American Spirits, $2 doubles at Lucky Lou's, the whole thing. And we loved Denton, and we had a really cool community there. And we were trying to figure out what our next step was. I got a job in Dallas. And we wanted to find something similar. So that's when we started exploring down in Oak Cliff. And we're okay, this feels similar enough where it's got the walkability and just kind of a fun art vibe that was a little alternative. So that's how we ended up coming down here to Oak Cliff.
We've heard some of that, the Denton, sometimes East Dallas connections too. There's some
Justin, another good Denton guy. I think there's a similar vibe in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, Denton was just kind of starting to bloom, I think, and when we were from a kind of creative development standpoint. So we were kind of on the beginning of that. Now if you go back, it's
it's changed.
Wild.
Yeah.
It's a really cool community. I mean, I would still live there. I think it's really, really cool. There's a really tight knit. My friends that are there, you just kind of place like Oak Cliff where you just run into people constantly. And that's so much fun. That's what we're looking for. We're we want to be able to go to a coffee shop and see people we know and just involved in that
downtown area too is so cool. so great.
Yeah. So great. Yeah, they've done a really good job in that city of kind of curating all that and putting the pieces together.
Nice. So. Nice. Well, yeah. So I know one of the things Grant and I were talking about earlier was the Struck House. How did that come about? It seems such an amazing.
So let me back up just a hair from before then. So we come down here because it kind of leads into the Struck House. But we come down here. We're looking for property. We knew we wanted to buy a duplex or a quadplex and live in one of the units. That was kind of the game plan. So we're looking around, and it's late 2012. That is. So I mean, the prices at that time in Oak Cliff were really cheap, which was great. So we found a quadplex that had a basement right by Sunset High School.
Wow.
And
you don't see a lot of basements.
No, you don't see a lot of basements. And the basement was that was part of the appeal for us because we were it's actually a full height ceiling in the basement with windows. So it's a half basement.
That's cool.
Where you can kind of it's got some natural light in there. So we find this place and we're okay, cool. So we buy it. We move into the basement actually and lease the 4 units above it. So we've done that for years. We were doing that. We were getting established as landlords, et cetera, both working W-2 jobs still. And we really had no intention of necessarily leaving the basement. We liked it. We were really tight with the neighbor association, our neighbors, and it was really cool. And then someone brought us this house technically in West Dallas, depending on where you define the line between West Dallas and Oak Cliff. But it was just this old Victorian farmhouse that's falling down. And at the time, I think it was D.R. Horton, one of the townhome builders, was trying to buy all this land in the area. And they couldn't buy the house because the historic societies had come together and protected the house. So they were really just trying to push the house off on us. They were hey, we just want, they called us and they were hey, you want to buy this old house? We know you like old houses. And I was okay, let's go look at it. So we get to looking at it. We go into contract on it. The townhome builder backs out. And they call us and they're hey, you still want to buy the house? We could maybe make something work, and maybe you can buy 2 houses behind you. So we were like, okay. And at that point, I was like, I kind of love the house. I was falling in love with the house a little bit. So we said, okay, like let's rock and roll. So we figured out how to get that one and the two behind it. The thing that really was awesome about that is originally they were going to cut our lot line like directly behind the house and directly on the left. And they removed all that, and they didn't change the price when we ended up buying it. So we got the house with like a half acre of land, and originally was for the.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's awesome.
But it was
Sounds like a good timing.
It was
like,
great timing. Yeah. And then someone came and developed houses all around us in the raw land anyway.
Yeah.
And we got like some really cool neighbors. So now we're like super tight with the neighbors again. It's really cool. But the house is really special. It was supposedly it's the oldest house in West Dallas. I don't know how they confirmed that, but that's what they say. It was a farmhouse from an old guy named Henry Struck had built it there. We think in 1883-ish, 1884 or something around there. And he was involved in like Sons at Herman Hall downtown and he owned a bar and like, kind of an interesting character. Recently learned that he actually died on the roof of the house, roofing it, had a heart attack and died. So now I'm like a little bit like maybe this,
No more roofing projects.
last time I'm getting on it. I don't even put the Christmas lights up. So, so anyway, really fun project. It's still it's a house like that's always a project. It's literally a never ending project, but we love it. It's like it's so much fun. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, what a cool place to call home too. Such unique.
It's so cool. And the two houses behind us, our friends moved into it. So like our best friends like right behind us.
That's
so,
awesome.
It's up on the hill too.
Yeah.
And so it's like I just love that whole neighborhood. It's a very cool little
I
area.
have this theory about like being up on a hill. Like there's something about it that just makes you, it feels good.
Yeah.
It just feels like you feel like, oh, you kind of like
you can see around
a little
safe,
better.
like,
Feel safe. I don't,
yeah.
obviously it doesn't make a difference,
No,
but it feels like something feels good about it. So it's fun.
So going back to the quadplex, was that your first foray into development, or how did you kind of get involved in real estate?
So development is like, I mean, wasn't really even on our thought process at that point. We were just trying to build a rental portfolio.
Yeah.
So that's why we bought that one.
Okay.
And we actually we hadn't really done any real construction. And some people in Oak Cliff will remember this, but that quadplex had a SUV run into it at like a high speed. And it was like a big accident. And fortunately, no one on the property got hurt, but the three people in the car died. It was a really bad accident. And it wrecked the building. And it was like this really big construction project. So we kind of had to like get forced to learn how to do construction at that point because we had to fix the building. Yeah. So that was like kind of our first like into major renovation work.
You got dropped in the deep end.
Now
you have to.
And also like we had to learn about like how do you do banking and how do you do like it was actually like a lot of the lessons started after that accident. It kind of like we drink through the fire hose a little bit.
Almost reactionary.
Yeah,
right?
totally
Like,
reactionary. It was not totally. We were like had like that and 2 duplexes at the time. So we were like we just bought the 2 duplexes too. We spent all of our money buying the next 2 duplexes, and then this SUV ran into. We had to live with our friends for 6 months. We we were impaired on credit card debt. It was this whole like wild, very stressful year.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. So anyway.
So
cool.
You got involved with that's kind
of wild.
It's a journey.
stressful.
It's a journey. Yeah. But then obviously the Struck House.
Yeah.
And was that one of the first things that kind of whet your appetite for preservation of older buildings and homes and like because I mean a lot of what you're working on nowadays it seems like is historically preserved or you'd like to preserve it.
Yeah. That's a great question. I think I've always been obsessive with like old stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be houses. I like old everything. Old trinkets or whatever. Like I like all that stuff that's got a history and kind of has a story that goes with it. But the preservation portion of it, that the Struck House probably was like the first one that we were like jumping through the hoops and learning about how that stuff works and getting involved in the preservation societies and Preservation Dallas and others. So it was that probably was the first one. But it didn't really change the way we thought about it that much. But really later we started thinking about preservation in a way that maybe like how can it help us and how can we help it? And then how do we help other people learn about how to do what we're doing?
We've talked about it a bit on the episodes before, but just this idea of how Oak Cliff, it seems to care about the old in some of these ways. And so I think it's why it attracts some of these people. Right. It attracts us in this way. It's like, even Tyler Station's like, okay, it's an old factory, could have been raised. Or a lot of the properties you had too, like I'm sure they can all have been raised and made more profitable, but there's something kind of amazing about like the age of having something even to work with.
Yeah, I have this new theory about that it's like the reason that people find these old buildings interesting is really about like their imperfections and that it resonates with, because humans aren't perfect and we all know we're not perfect, and no one likes someone that acts like they're perfect all the time, right?
Yeah.
And in the same way, we don't like a building that looks perfect. We actually don't want the building to look perfect, because it resonates with us when you walk through the halls and you're like, oh, it's like messed up here, and it's like that building has a story and I have a story, and it resonates a little bit with this when they have these old buildings, and there's the history that goes with it there.
It feels more authentic in the sense that like I can relate to it even.
Yeah,
There's a book that someone recommended to me. I wish I knew the name of it, but it talks about how architecture makes you feel and how I think about that right there, where it's like, okay, are we meant to be in these like fluorescent rooms in like perfect windows?
No, we're not
and
meant to
like,
be.
No, I know. Easy answer for us in Oak Cliff. But I relate to what you're saying, because I think there's something that feels right about it. And even this was new at some point, but it's definitely got its imperfections, and it's pretty awesome.
Which is what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's like a big part of what like has continued to make us interested in understanding the old buildings, and then really spending time thinking about how does a space make somebody feel when they come in for the first time. Yeah. It's like not a lot of people get to do this, but there's something about when you walk in a building the first time, when it's vacant and like bad condition and the roof's caving in, that is kind of like amazing. It's like kind of awe-striking a little bit when you're walking. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy.
I mean, we heard stories about Tyler Station when but it is like kind of a myth moment of sorts where you're like, oh, there's like water about a foot high on this like room, and like these animals here, and you're like, oh, this sounds totally nuts compared to where we are now. And I'm sure
it's got a little bit feel like you've discovered this like hidden gem because it is like the roof's caving in or whatever, but you still kind of feel the gravitas of like, oh, this building has not been used for a while, and it's got the bones for something special, but it's vacant. It's just a weird kind of eerie feeling, I bet. But you've seen that probably more than most people.
Yeah, when we went to the Oak Cliff Assembly the first time, it was like the roof was caving in, water everywhere. And you just walk in there and you're like, this is just crazy. The plaster's like laying on the plaster had fallen off the ceilings, just laying on top of the pews. I mean, it just is like eerie, but also like kind of beautiful. Yeah. And then it's like you're talking to the pastor, and the pastor's like, yeah, we used to have 1,200 people in here on a Sunday. And it's like, this is like so
you're like, how did this happen?
How does it happen? I'm like, but that's like part of the property story. So then like then that's what the wheels start turning. Okay, this is part of the story. Like, how do we like tell that story as we work on it? How do we keep pieces that we think will resonate with people, and et cetera?
Go into that, because I feel like Oak Cliff Assembly, that was one of the ones we wanted to talk through. Obviously, we can talk through all of them, but
sure.
How walk us through that process of like you came in, you closing the building, you're starting to renovate it and bring life back into it, but also like working with people in the neighborhood. Like what has that been like?
Really fulfilling and really challenging. It's really been a property that taught us more than any other properties taught us. Okay. I've certainly spent astronomically more time there than I've spent at any other project we've done. Oh, like probably like 20 times
Seriously?
more time.
Yeah, I didn't realize
partially
that.
because we office there, so I'm like there for. But also just generally speaking, the amount of effort it took to get that thing to come together. It's just very challenging. It's in an area where the rent's still really affordable, which is great, but also it's hard to make deals work when the rent's really affordable. So both this two sides of the same coin. Yeah, both things are true. So we really have like, it's ended up in a really beautiful spot where we have like I think 23 different organizations on campus. Wow. But a lot of the people are like overlapping in the spaces. So you might have, the theater space is used by many people. We have 2 churches that meet there. Wow. We have like all these different people that are a lot of solopreneurs, a lot of artists, creatives, those kind of people that are just coordinating and working together. Yeah. And everything's full except we have one space left that we're still trying to figure out, but it's only 800 feet, and I know it's really special, so I'm like waiting for the perfect, the perfect thing to come in there. So, but yeah, it's a really cool project, and it was a hugely heavy lift, a lot of construction, biggest construction project we ever done. It required a zoning change. It was actually like funny. They had done an overlay. This is Classic City stuff. Where it just kind of got thrown out with the bathwater, I think, on the zoning change, and they zoned it townhomes. Well, of course, it's also a historic landmark, so you couldn't make it into townhomes. So the zoning that was existing on the building wasn't applicable to what you could even physically do with the property.
It's crazy.
So Yeah, so what should have been a relatively easy zoning change ended up taking quite a bit of time, but we had a ton of support from the community and had the opportunity to meet like a lot of people that were excited, to work with us on that.
Yeah, what was the reception like? I mean, I know there's a lot of community events kind of early on, and some of the storytelling you guys have done too have been pretty cool.
I think that's I think that the probably part of what's missed a lot of times when you're in rooms that are talking about development is that a lot of these communities are really just dying for something to happen. And I really think that part is missed entirely in a lot of these conversations is they just don't want a vacant, blighted building next to their house.
Yeah.
Like that is when you get into Kid Springs, Kessler, the areas that are more developed, they have more opinions about it because they already have amenities. They already have stuff going on. They've already seen development happen. But when you end up in an area that has, there's no coffee shops and no food and no grocery stores and there's crime and et cetera. They're just excited that someone's like showing up and trying to work on it. So
someone's there and committed to that spot.
So from the actual neighbor support was like unbelievable. Cool. I mean, so
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. And now the neighbor association meets there. And like we have a lot of community groups that are like involved that are in District 4. So that's 35 divides District 1 and District 4. So 30 District 4 is where we've been working over there, and Caroline Arnold King. And so anyway, it's just a lot of support.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Today's show is brought to you by Oak Cliff Brewing Co. Are you interested in unwinding and connecting with neighbors over a great beer? Then go visit Oak Cliff Brewing Co. They've got a great tap room with all sorts of great beers on tap. It's a full production brewery here in the heart of Oak Cliff. Visit oakcliffbrewing.com to find out what's on tap right now and where you can find fresh beer made right here in Oak Cliff. Yeah, I feel like there's that project in particular feels a little bit like a balance between commercial viability, like how do we make this work, and also enrich the community at the same time. And so I'd be curious to hear from you, like how do you think about those two things? Because obviously the project has to make money, it needs to work, it needs to be successful financially, but also you see it as like a thing that you're putting into that neighborhood that hopefully is going to benefit everybody there.
Well, it has to benefit the people because the only people that are going to support it are the people that are in the neighborhood. And that's like when you get into these kind of more nuanced development, like you're not going to pull a huge audience from Allen, Texas or Frisco or even Lakewood or even Richardson, anywhere. Like the people that are going to support the property are the people that live within literally like 1 or 2 miles of it, which I think like that's probably pretty true here at Tyler Station. Also, that you've probably got a larger circle around you, but like the assembly, like we're really like, this is something that you have to design something the neighbors want. If the neighbors don't want it, then it won't work because no one else is going to show up to support it. So like you have to be able to think about how do the neighbors want, what do the neighbors want,
what do people need here?
What do people need here?
And maybe don't impose too much of what you want at first. It's like, hey, what are people looking for?
I mean, it's a great question. Like, what do people need here? And then you go out and you ask people, And what's interesting is like, and we've done that a lot more on the East Stock project in terms of just because we have more flexibility on what we're allowed to do. Of just going to neighbors and be like, what do you want? And it's interesting, like the number one thing we get is food, like not groceries, but though I think they would love grocery store also. But just restaurants. Yeah. Like that's like the number, which is really challenging to get a restaurant because they cost a fortune to build.
It's a way different. But, it's a kind of different project.
But I think like, that's in, I think that people, but I'll tell you what people don't want. They don't want vacant, empty buildings next to their house that have, so. And this church, the assembly was not, technically there's like 4 buildings.
Okay. Yeah.
One of the buildings was being used by the church, Zion Hill Missionary Baptist Church, who still meets there today. They still meet. There's only 8 people left in the congregation or something like that, 8, 9 people in there. They still meet there most Sundays, but they had the 3 of the buildings were vacant. When we got it.
That's wild. Yeah. Well, tell us. I know one of the other projects we were excited to go talk to you about was the Madison Hotel. I mean, having a hotel in Oak Cliff. I know we were catching up about it the other day in the tap room too. Just like it seems to be working. There's challenges. It's like kind of a unique situation and place that you found too that it could even exist. But tell us about that project.
First off, extremely fun project. We just had most time we're working on these like shoestring budgets and you're just trying to like put the deal together and make it work. So the hotel, we had a larger budget going in because we knew we wanted to make it special.
Yeah.
So that was just nice to be able like to hire a designer. Typically, like we're like doing a lot of our own design work, especially like interior design work. And so we like had a designer pick all this, and they literally buy everything and pick it up and ship it. And it's like I was like half my job. It was great.
This is nice. I got a team here helping me.
I was like, this is so much fun. So that was cool. The hotel itself is really interesting. It was built in 1926. It was originally called the Wesleyan. We almost called it the Wesleyan, but we'd already started the branding as the Madison when we found out that it was originally called the Wesleyan.
Yeah.
So obviously a hotel in 1926 is a very different experience. There were different types of hotels. An inn would have been more like kind of like an extended stay. Okay. So I think almost certainly it was built to serve Methodist Hospital.
Oh, wow.
And there's like articles of, because Methodist Hospital was actually completed in, I'm gonna get this backwards. One was 26, one was 27.
Yeah.
Anyway, but Methodist Hospital took like 5 years to build. So probably Methodist Hospital was like 50% of the way through. Then they start the Wesleyan to serve the hospital. But there's articles where it's like so and so is staying in the Wesleyan when they're getting their kidney or whatever. I don't know. So. So it's cool. That's fun. And so then it's a hotel. It's operating. And then the recession hits. I'm sorry, the depression. The depression hits right after it gets completed. Okay. They get foreclosed on.
No way. Like
then it gets passed to like a bunch of different people buy it. Like for the over 10 years, like 6 different owners have it. Finally, this woman, Alice Carter, buys it, and she operates it herself. She's like, making the meals, making the beds, and running it. Yeah. And she actually ended up kind of being like branding it as like a safe place for single women travelers to stay.
Wow.
So if this is like coming into the 40s, she owns it for 20 something years. She passes it to her son, and then her son had operated for a little bit, was not as good an operator, and ended up selling it. Right in that time is when the JFK assassination happened. And it's in the FBI file. So there's a guy they're talking. Yeah, it's in there. The guy's talking about like they're questioning this guy Bohan, I think is how you pronounce his name. And he's like, oh yeah, like Oswald was staying at the Madison, on the Madison, at this, blah blah. And they say the address like 1159 Madison, yada yada.
You're like, what?
And you're like, well, that's so crazy. But anyway, the investigators go there and they talk to like the housekeeper and the previous owners and etc. And it seems like it's kind of a dead end in the FBI files. You don't know, like maybe once this other stuff gets released, it's going to be in there more. We're going to
release the file.
Release the story.
Release the file.
I mean, now they know that Oswald, at least at the time of the assassination, was living off Zhang, which is like, it's literally like a stone's throw.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like you could walk there in 3 minutes.
The boarding house.
The boarding house on Zhang,
But it is in the files that he stayed there.
It's in the files that they think he stayed there.
I see.
But then when they go question the people are like, I don't know. But also it just sold, so they're questioning the new people. And then
there's some intrigue there.
Yeah. And I really need to like.
Dude, we need a deep dive into this.
Deep dive more because I think there's probably more found. But then Bohan ends up committing suicide supposedly. And supposedly commits suicide. So they go back and question him, and they can't go back to get the rest of the answers. So we don't know what happened.
Go stay at the Madison.
Yeah, go stay at the Madison.
You can find out for
Room
yourself.
27 is the Oswald room.
No, dude, that's crazy. Room 27.
Yeah. Also, use code Oswald, all capitals, to get the Oak Cliff discount.
See,
that's a
now
plug right there.
Do it. Go stay there.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's
it's
awesome.
been very fun. We have like the best GM ever, and she's really running the show. It's a business. It's not real estate. I mean, it really is a total big step for us in terms of operation. We got like as much staff just working at the hotel as we have in the entire Proxy organization. So it's just like a whole different ball game.
That had to be a big leap, like mentally, to be like, we're going to do this hotel project.
Yeah, it should have been, but I wasn't thinking about it. So I just ended up there.
Like, hotel, Oak Cliff, let's go.
So it was, it's a really fun project, and it's really cool. And honestly, like we're booking, like it's been great.
Yeah,
clearly there was a huge need there because the rooms are booking like wild.
That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah. I love how you problem solve some of these things in real time or even afterwards, because I've noticed this with Oak Cliff Assembly. Like, hey, you're working with this events group, or you're working with a general manager here, or you're working with this hospitality group. Man, like has there been anything that's popped up in all these projects that you're just like, I did not see this coming, or this was an incredibly hard problem to solve?
I mean, like every project, but I'll try. I literally just told one of my coworkers this is it's like if we were just buying, building, and leasing property, our job would be easy. But you're doing that when you're getting like grenades thrown at you the whole time, and it's just like there's always something.
Yeah.
And it's many times connected to the city in some capacity, because the cities this is actually like, I'll tangent just for a second about the city of Dallas. I think a lot of people's stereotype is that they don't work hard, that they're like sitting there playing Candy Crush or whatever. That's 100% not true. These people are working like honestly crazy hours a lot of times. A lot of times we're getting emails from like on a Saturday, like 8 p.m. And I don't know if like maybe they're presetting them. I'm not sure what their deal is, but like these people are like working crazy hours. And I have friends in zoning and code and really most of the departments that we know people in it, they all work like a lot of hours.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. So I think that like, the
Hard
stereotype
workers.
that they're like not working hard could not be further from the truth. That being said, they have no idea about adaptive reuse projects. They really struggle to understand what we're doing. They struggle to understand what the permits are. There's not a lot of consistency in the building department about how we should deal with parking and how we should deal with land uses. And there's something will get approved and then they'll be like, oh, wait, never mind. And so a lot of times it's connected. The big problems are connected to that. And like, you know, you like at the assembly, like we own the property. We're like working on a development plan. You're going to get a zoning change done. It takes a year. So you're like, just like, okay.
Burning
like,
cash for a year.
Burning cash. Yeah. You're burning cash. You also don't know if it's going to work yet. So you're like hoping
you're
that
literally
like you got
waiting
the
to find out
support.
from the city if this is going to be a good thing.
Yeah, and so...
And hopefully this returns.
Yeah, hopefully this works. And then even if you do get the zoning change, then you're like, hopefully the concept works. This can be an unbelievable. And for me, I like almost enjoy the stress aspect.
I was gonna say,
but the risk and the like playing the game.
Yeah.
Like I really love all that part of it. I thrive in that environment. But I mean, if you were an anxiety prone person, I mean, this is not. Let me tell you, stay away from this business. I looked at the camera. Is that allowed? No.
That's perfect. That was the right time.
Was that the moment?
That was
right
the moment.
time.
I mean, your pace of development. You're doing so many projects.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, it's stressful, but like you were just saying a minute ago, you love it. Like it's like something you really enjoy.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I really believe like just generally speaking, is like, and I tell my team this is like, if you don't enjoy 90% of what you're doing, like you shouldn't be doing what you're doing because like you have to be great at something. I think you have to enjoy it a lot. And if you try and just like white knuckle yourself into being great at something, you're gonna feel tired. You may not even be tired. You might just be like uninspired by what you're doing. But it's to be, and especially in something that involves a lot of like I guess stress management or dealing with problems. Like, you really gotta love it.
Yeah.
Because why would you do it if you didn't love it?
Yeah.
You know? So I'm obsessed with it. I lay in bed at night thinking about it. I wake up in the morning thinking about it. It's great. It's so much fun. The projects are fun. I love it. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, so AJ, I feel like there's been a generation of like kind of well-known developers in Oak Cliff, and I would say you're kind of the developer that we think of when you're like, oh, this is in our generation of sorts.
Yeah.
And so, man, what have you learned from maybe those guys that have been here and have kind of like been doing some of this for a while? And any things to...
I mean, I think first off, like the tenacity it took to be doing work in Oak Cliff in the 90s is a whole different... I was so fortunate to start in 2013 and then have the market just catch on fire. And it was like the people wanted to be here and not just in Oak Cliff, but the whole nation. The real estate market was, they wanted to come to Texas and the real estate market was going crazy. And there were so many things that like helped us along. Yeah. And so I don't like, when you look at the guys like Monty or Dave Spence or some of these people that have been at it for, 3-4 decades.
For real.
It's really incredible. I also hope that I'm like in a decade from now, I'm not doing this anymore because it's pretty brutal, but also very fun. It's both things. But anyway, if you look at even like a deal like Tyler Station, okay, like who, of course, y'all are all too familiar with.
Yep.
Like just put yourself in the shoes of like very little, it's not very visible, right?
Yeah.
So it's like not like, it's like, the idea to buy something like Tyler Station, be like, do anything besides warehouse was so outside the box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like anyone else that, first off, no one else would have even looked at the deal typically, but like anyone else that would have looked at the deal would have been like, I'm doing a warehouse or I'm doing something that's warehouse-ish.
Yes. Yeah.
To try and come into the place was like, okay, like not a lot of visibility out the road. Not like it's kind of in like a little bit of a, it's just single family neighborhood, single family neighborhood, there's not like, it's not a known area for retail. It's not a known area for commercial. It's not a known area for office, and be like, I'm not gonna put 100,000 feet of it right here. Like, let's just pow.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like crazy. It's crazy,
It's
but
a
it
visionary
worked.
kind of
You know,
thing.
it
Yeah.
worked.
It takes a certain eye to see that as an opportunity.
Oh yeah, I mean,
And not a
like,
lot of
literally,
people-
like he was the only one with the
Yeah,
eye.
that's
Like,
true.
He was
That's
it.
true.
You know, and that's the
true.
truth. Like he really,
Yeah.
and I got a lot of respect for that because it's
Us
like
too, yeah.
that's like, I mean, you talk about having some guts and like going
Yeah,
out on a limb
yeah.
and trying to do something different.
Yeah.
I mean, that definitely is pretty incredible. And then you got Dave Spence,
Yeah.
who is like, he's so meticulous. And his product, his design is so good. And he does all of it himself. He's
Yeah.
like, you see him out there like trimming the bushes.
He's
and
deeply
stuff out there.
involved
He
in
is so
everything.
involved.
Yeah. In a
And
great
also,
way.
I mean,
yeah.
I'm gonna like, you know, we obviously have apartments which I want to lease. His apartment is like clean and cheap.
I know.
I'm like,
How do you do that?
Yeah, how do you do that?
Yeah.
I guess you buy him in the
Bishop Arts.
90s.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But,
It's a timing.
Yeah, but I mean,
Buy him in the
yeah,
90s.
he's a-
Buy him in the 90s.
yeah,
in
I mean,
Bishop
it's,
Arts.
yeah. So it's, you know, he is just, you know, and also Dave is a really good guy. That,
Yeah,
like, you know,
yeah.
he's
Yeah,
been
we're
really
lucky.
kind
Yeah.
to me and helped me. Both of them have helped me, you know,
Yeah.
a lot. Those are the two guys that come to mind, you know,
Yeah,
and then we
yeah,
give like
yeah.
those kind of guys that paved a path in terms of adaptive reuse stuff,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and historic preservation. Yeah, and I think that and certainly I'm sure there's people that would have not good things to say about those guys, but it's like the reality is like those guys were there and they were working on making the
did
neighborhood
it.
better and
Yeah.
they did it. And like this that means something. And everyone's gonna make mistakes or do things that some people aren't gonna like.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing something good, if you're doing something interesting, there's always gonna be people like don't like that idea. Right? Like you always
That's true.
You're shaking something up.
You're shaking stuff up. Yeah, you got to break the rules a little bit. You
Yeah.
got to push the boundaries a little
Yeah.
bit. Like
Yeah, you've got strong convictions.
You got strong
so
convictions,
Somebody's
yeah.
going to have an opposite conviction.
Totally.
That's just how it works.
That's just how it works. Yeah. And I think that I got a lot of respect for there's also people in the neighborhood who have there's some people in the neighborhood that will like never talk to that person again. But if you look at a lot of the core Oak Cliff people, especially around Bishop Arts, these people have fought mini battles against each other.
Yeah.
And then they still go drink beer together.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
love that. Like
yeah.
when you talk to people like that, I'm like,
Yeah.
I got a lot of respect for people that can do that. That
You
can have
totally
a disagreement.
disagree on like the way this one's being done or that.
Yeah. And I think that that's like a cool thing that happens in Oak Cliff that doesn't happen everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, I mean, as I think about Oak Cliff, I mean, like you said, the 90s was a certain time frame. Now, you know, the 2000s.
2010s, like when you got in.
2010s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you excited about as you think about some of the future of Oak Cliff, kind of where things generally in this area have come from and now are going from
Yeah.
a development standpoint and just like community standpoint too?
That's a great question. I mean, I think you have a whole new generation of young people coming in that are going to be really interesting and do really interesting things and probably think that, you know, we're pretty boring, which
Yeah.
is great,
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
that's great. And I think that there's an art movement that could really be something, we could end up being the center of art. I think we can end up being, for better, for worse, the center of tourism a little bit in Oak Cliff. I think more and more people are Googling, like, when they're coming to Dallas, where should I go? And Oak Cliff and Bishop Arts is popping up.
Yeah.
And if you walk around Bishop Arts, you see that. And again, like, for better, for worse, it is less of a local hangout. That's just the reality. It's the locals, because, and it's not just the parking. It's the
No,
whole thing. It's
yeah.
like it's the energy.
It's the whole vibe
It's the whole
of
thing.
everything. Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's okay. And it's just,
Yes, yeah.
it serves a purpose. Its purpose is changing.
Still get
and-
lunch down there?
Yeah.
Like, still-
And
yeah,
I still
yeah.
go down there.
Yeah,
I still
yeah.
go down there a lot. And I love Bishop Arts. And reality is, like, it's a good thing for most of the businesses down there will benefit from the fact that you have now outsiders coming in to go do their
100%, yeah.
shopping there, and
Yep.
and people come to eat dinner there, and et cetera. And it's good for our economy. It's good for
destination,
good
right?
for the it's good for the people that work there. It's
Yeah.
good for there's a lot of really positive things about it. But also it's becoming less of a local spot.
Yeah.
That's just
yeah.
true. You know.
Yeah. Well, and it pushes, I'll say, like we were talking to someone the other day, I was like, oh, maybe we should put something in downtown Elmwood or do something over here. And it's like, I think they would regularly, maybe a few years ago, have been thinking North Oak Cliff or Bishop
Yeah.
Arts. And that's like, maybe not an opportunity as much as more, or it's like it's happened and it's like it's a different thing.
It's a different
right
beast now than it was
It
5,
is.
10 years ago.
Which then pushes some of that,
Yeah,
like
sure.
those entrepreneurial or whatever that is, kind of into different areas of Oak Cliff, which is kind of fun to see.
Yeah, it totally is fun to see. And I think you have like a lot of identity neighborhoods that are coming out with their identities
Yeah,
and
yeah,
kind of establishing
yeah.
themselves as new neighborhood spots that have
Yeah,
popped up
yeah,
around
yeah.
Oak Cliff, which is so cool that like there are the neighborhood spots
Yeah,
that aren't
yeah.
Bishop Arts and it's really good. It's a good thing for Oak Cliff.
Today's show is brought to you by Waxspace. Are you looking for a place in Oak Cliff to connect and meet other neighbors? Then Waxspace is the place for you. Come join the Neighborhood Work Club, and for just $80 a month, you can get all the things you need to be productive at work. Why work from home when you can work from a place with other neighbors? We've got cold brew, fresh coffee all day, phone booths for your meetings. We've got a podcast studio and a lot of other amenities here. So visit thewaxspace.com to learn more and sign up today.
Well, what kind of advice would you have for anyone? Because I was thinking about like, okay, who's in AJ's generation of like developers in Oak Cliff or people who are doing that? Not a lot come to mind that I know of that have like that neighborhood reputation of sorts.
Yeah.
And so, what would be some of that advice to people who are kind of looking to jump in this area and kind of build Oak Cliff alongside you?
I mean, I think within the world of real estate, I would say I really want to say just don't. But I also don't want to like tell people like there is a dream.
Why do you say that?
It's so hard now. It's not like when we were so fortunate to start in when we started, and like and the values were going up like very quickly. Then there was opportunity. And like I hear people call us a lot like, hey, I want to buy a duplex, I want to buy a quadplex. And it probably will work out for them in a long-term way, but it's not like it was when we started doing it. And like there's a reason that we don't buy a lot of duplexes and multifamily anymore. It's just really, really challenging to find ones that are financially appealing. And so
it's kind of happened a little bit. It's kind of what you're saying. And so you have to like, even I think of Monty and some of this is like, kind of doesn't do too much in Oak Cliff per se. It's like more in the Duncanville or like it's kind of
and Oak Cliff's so big, right?
Yeah,
you know, we often like kind of triangulate around here in North. Yeah, so
that's a great point.
There's a lot of opportunity in broader Oak Cliff, probably.
It's huge,
but you're right. Monty will be the first to tell you. Like I have moved to Duncanville and DeSoto as more central parts of, but he's been in Southern Dallas his whole career, so it's kind of natural for him to float around Southern Dallas area.
I hear that.
Here's what I would say is you have to be able to create value now with whatever you're buying.
Yeah.
So if you're going to go buy something, you better have an idea of how, like you're going to have to overpay probably or pay more than like, it's not going to make money day one.
Like you can't just be an asset.
You can't just be an asset. You can't just go buy a duplex, lease it out. And unless you have like bukus of money, which, you know, not a lot of people do. So like you can't just go buy a duplex, put 20% down and start
collecting your paycheck.
No, that's not how it works anymore. No. So what I would really recommend a lot is like, again, like, counterproductive for me, but if you're a small business owner, like go find a building and buy it and then create the value by being the business owner.
Yeah.
Like that's where like Oak Cliff can be like really cool and interesting. I think we got lots of small buildings, we got lots of entrepreneurs. Like these people can create value for the building.
Create a business for that building.
I think that's interesting. Like if you, or if you have an idea of how to do something like the hotel was like, we create a lot of value. It's a business really more than a thing. So that's like something like that could be compelling for someone that's like interested in hospitality or if they're interested in, but to just go buy a building and lease it is not just in Oak Cliff, it's everywhere. Like that's just in DFW, it's just impossible. In fact, it's, you know, the certain parts it would be even harder than Oak Cliff to do that in.
Yeah.
So what I would say is like you have to have a vision for what you're trying to do with it. You can't just buy something and lease it, and then you're gonna have to have probably something that's falling apart in some form or fashion. Like you need to find an old building that needs a lot of work, and then you got to find a team. You got to put a team together that knows how to put the building back together. And we've been fortunate. We have Alicia, who you all know is our architect, and she's awesome. She's like an incredible architect. And then David, who does our construction, and we have a team now that like. Which I'm, you know,
David with the Cybertruck.
I mean, I know, dude.
Showing up.
David with the Cybertruck.
Dude, he just showing up.
He went from driving like a 1997 Ford F-250 to Cybertruck.
Bro, that's a wild transition.
Okay.
Thanks to you. He's helping me on my house. And he pulled up on that. And I was just like, what's up, Dave?
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Supposedly he's saving like $450 a month on gas.
I know,
that's what I heard. Business expense.
Yeah,
exactly. So, anyway, when you have a good team, it makes everything, and also like our internal team at Proxy has been like, it's so good.
You guys have a
great team. I mean, it's like their engagement level is off the chain. They really care a lot about doing a good job and doing what's right for Proxy and Oak Cliff. And we try and like merge. We try and have that process of what's good for Proxy, what's good for Oak Cliff, what's good for our team, and they really carry that, I think, and they're just like super blessed to have those people. Awesome. They like, now they do like most of the work. I just run around and meet with people all day long. It's embarrassing.
Well, we know a lot of your team. They're good
they're
people.
awesome.
They crush it.
Yeah.
All right. So what's coming up for Proxy here in the next little bit? What are you excited about?
So we have like 2 mammoth projects. We have the East Dock and then we have the Jefferson, are our 2 like new up and coming projects. The East Dock is a 63,000 foot warehouse that we are going to convert to hopefully 30% retail, 30% office, 30% flex space. Would love to do more retail and office. If the city of Dallas could figure out their parking regulations, we could do that.
Yeah.
But, for now, we're going to have to do some flex space in there. So we'll get creative with that and figure out how to make flex space active still. The real goal with that property is to have businesses open from 6 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. We want it to be 18-hour campus. If we could do more than that, I would do more. But I think that's like probably the most we can get in terms of being open. We want to activate it all the time. We're trying to find as many people that are local entrepreneurs that want to hopefully people that second business or second location or et cetera. But we're open to startups too if they got like a good business plan, a good idea. And then the Jefferson, which is arguably on like one of the most important corners in Oak Cliff, is on Marsalis and Jefferson. This is where downtown Oak Cliff was. This is where the post office was. This is where like this was Oak Cliff center at one point. Obviously now it's less of the center of Oak Cliff, but it was a really one of the most important corners. It's nationally and state historic and local landmark. It's 40,000 feet. The goal is to turn it into it's 45,000 feet. The goal is to turn it into roughly 30 apartments and 20,000 feet of commercial space. That one's it's an old. I'm sorry, I didn't explain what it is. It's a church. It's the old Methodist church. It's red brick. If you're in Oak,
it's beautiful.
Yeah,
too.
it's a beautiful building.
We got
it's
to walk
really
that
cool.
early with you too, where it was like had a fire.
Yeah, when you walk in
but,
that one, you're
yeah,
like, whoa.
Yeah.
You can feel it in that one for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big time. The sanctuary in there is like spectacular.
It's awesome.
And that one's been interesting. We completed the zoning change on it already. It was zoned. It was zoned for commercial only, no residential. So we had to change it to get the residential. And then we had to get some of the historic stuff solidified, which is solidified. And the last step is getting TIF funding on it through the city of Dallas. And that's the only way that this project is possible, is to use, and that's what I would say with a lot of these historic preservation ones, especially, is like the construction is ridiculously expensive. And so the only way is to have multiple areas of where you're getting the funding from. So we'll have a primary bank, we'll have the TIF funding, and we'll have the historic credits. We layer those 3 together, and of course our equity. So four sections, and then we go build the project. So I hopefully will go TIF funding at some point later this year to go to city. You got to go to city council and get approval, et cetera, et cetera.
It's part of the hard part of doing construction on a preservation project like that. Just how meticulous you have to be in the preservation of it, or what makes it hard?
Yeah, so like there's certain aspects, like even like and a church is extra hard because you have a lot of stained glass in a lot of churches, and the stained glass is like wild expensive. And to get the historic credits, which we need, you have to do the stained glass.
There's like a little bit of a dance that has to be done.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a dance that has to be done, and like it is actually a little bit funny. This is counterintuitive, but so say the window's completely gone and busted out.
Yeah.
You can't go back with the stained glass, actually. They don't want you to replicate it. They want you to put like a modern window in there because they don't want you to fake historic. So there's like some like weirdness around like and I honestly, even that stuff is like, it seems like a little bit, depending on who you talk to, you get a different story on how they want you to do that. But say you have the exact same window next to it that is a stained glass window that's just busted to hell. They want you to fix that one. So like if the window's there and it's busted, you got to fix it. If the window's just gone, then you have to put whatever you want. Go buy you a $500 window and put it in there.
Fascinating.
So, so it's like a difference of like 10,000 or 500. So
it's probably hard to like really know how much money
it's hard to know how much money it's going to cost. And then
and
there's all like the mill work, and there's a gazillion different things that cause the cost to be higher on it. And like, again, like David's so good at like getting outside the box and how we approach those things. And Alicia's very good on Alicia is like, her architect is like a historic preservationist, for years and years before we started working with her. So she really understands how to navigate all that stuff.
That's cool.
And then we work with another consultant that helps us with like the credit aspect of it.
Dude, I love how much you know about your buildings and the history and And I know that's probably
Yeah.
back to like the vintage or like
Yeah.
wanting the things that are
fun.
real and stuff. Do you research that yourself, or is that?
Yeah, we do a lot of the research ourselves. If we have to get if we're doing historic designation on it, we work with a third party group because they have to do like a huge write up.
Okay.
Which I'm dyslexic, so I don't like doing big write ups. So, this guy does Jay, who's awesome. Shout out Jay, does these huge write ups on the properties in the historic. But if typically we also and like I get like geek out. I like collect old stuff from the properties, like the Oak Cliff Assembly. I have like old bulletins.
Yes.
and you can find this stuff on eBay. Like you can set up an auto search on
that's cool.
eBay.
Yeah.
And then it'll just like pop up whenever it comes up. So I got like an old like
Dude, you find
Yeah.
good eBay stuff.
Oh,
I've seen
yeah,
you post
I
some of
love
it, and I'm
eBay.
like, this guy's got some vintage. Oak
There's like
Cliff
a bunch of
stuff.
old
I'm
Oak Cliff Bank stuff
Yeah,
that's pretty
I
cool.
know.
They got old. They must have done a bunch of swag. So they had like you get
The
like the
win-win
19
banks
yeah
and stuff.
yeah
or-
yeah. There's a bunch of win-win
I know.
stuff.
I've
There's,
seen them. I've been on eBay with you.
Yeah.
And I had no idea about this eBay.
Oh,
Oak
Oh
Cliff
yeah,
world.
it's great. It's
Dude,
there's
that
so much good
auto,
stuff.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, you can
though.
set up like a search, like keyword searches
Yeah.
or whatever on it. Yeah, so yeah, but I love the history part is very fun for me. Understanding like the who owned it, what they were
Yeah,
doing,
the story of
it, and then like I love collecting like the little trinkets that like
Dude, that's awesome.
I'll spend
That's
like a ridiculous amount of money on like a keychain. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't
Yeah.
know. They know that someone's gonna pay that, I guess. So.
Yeah, you're like, wow.
You know what? Other
we know.
interesting. So in regards to reaching and Oak Cliff history. A really interesting thing is the yearbooks. So the Oak Cliff High School, which was now it's Adamson, and then Sunset published yearbooks. The yearbooks had ads in them in the back.
Oh, interesting.
And the ads have photos many times of the businesses.
cool.
So you can go like you got to buy the yearbooks like $35, $40 on eBay. You buy them, and then you can maybe get lucky and find
an
something
ad.
about
Oh, that's
your
interesting.
building on
Okay.
there. So. Or just generally, but this even if they don't have pictures of it, they have addresses listed with what the business is. It'd be like so and so's ice cream shop, blank Jefferson.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. You can read through there and be like, oh, this is and then like I know a lot of the landlords, so I'll like see something about their property and text and be like, well, shout out, look here,
check this out.
That's
cool.
kind of cool. So I use, but most of the easiest, best way to research a history of any property, and this is even for like people's houses.
Yeah.
The Dallas Morning News has an archive with the Dallas Library. And you can and they've somehow uploaded it where you can search the newspaper with the print. It just still comes up in print, but you can search like any address you want or anything you want. And then you can find out, stuff about the property. So that's why I have like probably like
fascinating.
40 or 50 ads for the Madison Hotel or the
Wow.
Wesleyan. It had many different names over the years.
From that.
Like from the Dallas Morning News.
Okay.
And then if you want to go like crazy deep, Dave Smith taught me this one. You go to ancestry.com and then you can search the people that were involved in the actual building of the press. So I like
That's
have
going
like
deep.
photos of the people that built the Wesleyan.
nice.
Yeah, so it's like kind of George Keene. He owned a lumber yard on Beckley also, kind of Oak Cliff.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so
You've gone
you're
deep,
doing
man.
a lot
Yeah,
of this.
this
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's very fun. If anyone owns a house, you can look up your address. Your address is likely somewhere in the Dallas Morning News, especially back in the day. If it's pre-40s, they would run ads like so and so's going out of town. Like that's how they announced like they were traveling. It was like
this was I remember our grandfather had a clip of like it was a photo of them driving to Key West, and it was like the Schnuties went to Key West.
Headline in the paper.
Yeah, and it
that
was
was big news.
It was like
it'd be like Mr. Shrek is going to Oklahoma for 2 months on a business trip.
I wish the news read that way
Yeah, it's
nowadays.
crazy. It's like how you
That'd
made
be great.
announcements.
he made announcements in the newspaper.
Yeah, I know. Now you like don't want people to know when
Yeah,
you're leaving
you're
town.
like,
Now it's like everyone, it's crazy.
yeah.
So
Oh, man.
That's funny.
That's awesome. Crazy, man. Well, AJ, this has been awesome. I'm so glad you took the time to be on the show, man. Thanks for all you're doing here in Oak Cliff. And thanks for being on.
thanks for y'all
Good catching
doing.
up,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Good to see
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Awesome.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Hidden City. We hope you discovered something about Oak Cliff that you didn't know. If you enjoyed the show, I hope you subscribe to it on YouTube and then follow us on any of the podcasting platforms. Also, if you enjoyed it, please share with a friend. And thanks so much for tuning in.